Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for tuning in again today. As a reminder, this week we're here every single day at 1 o'clock talking about school. A lot of questions. Sometimes it's very helpful to hear things more than once, so we thought we would have a brief conference each day at 1 o'clock. So I'm here today. I'll be here again tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Next week, we'll be back to Wednesday at 1 o'clock, just one day. Okay, so it's another good news day for the data. I ask you to please put the data up. Yesterday, we performed almost 8,500 tests. That's a banner day. Again, top of the nation in terms of number of tests, 8,500 tests. And here's the great news. We saw a percent positive rate of less than 1%, 0.7%. That is 56 cases. And very sadly, another 4 deaths. It's, the toll of this virus is just unbelievable and continues to take loved ones from us every day. So I want to begin with a thank you. You know, a few weeks ago when I was getting up here, we were getting nervous. Our cases were going up, the test positive was going up, and so at that time, we said social gatherings were going from 25 to 15, bars would have to be closed at 11, and we really ramped up our enforcement around mask wearing. Cities and towns, thank you guys, ramped up enforcement of social gatherings, and you can see the results. The results are clear, and you see the good news story on your screen. So I want to thank the people of Rhode Island, thank mayors and town managers, thank the Department of Health. We need to stay at it, particularly now. Labor Day is this weekend. Don't party in groups greater than 15. We did that on 4th of July and we got into trouble. So start making your plans now for Labor Day. Keep it small. Keep it small, 15, not 20 or 25. Don't congregate, wear your mask, and keep social distance. We're on a good, stable path as we think about reopening school for our children. So let's stay there. Okay. Yesterday, we spent a lot of time talking about what would happen when we saw positive cases in schools, which we know we will have. And, you know, we've put a lot of time into, obviously, figuring out how to mitigate the risks so we have as few positive cases as possible. I want to thank all of our school leaders, principals, superintendents, teachers who are working so hard on their plans, doing great work, detailed work. I want to thank you. I would say I personally have seen these plans, have talked to superintendents, teachers, and principals. Your work is so impressive, so innovative and creative, and I want to say thank you. This is going to be hard to open school. No one can deny that. But I want us all to have a can-do attitude. We can do this. You know, 6 months ago, I didn't know what contact tracing was. We didn't know how we would possibly do enough testing to meet the needs of Rhode Island. How could we possibly, you know, meet the needs of having enough N95 masks or enough testing or enough contact tracing? You know, we were able to build a field hospital in 2 weeks. So at each point, when we put our mind to it, we, the people of Rhode Island, have risen to the challenge to do things that we thought were too hard to be done. We said we're going to do it because we have to do it. It's a crisis. And the same is going to be true for school. We have to summon that can-do attitude. Yes, it'll be hard. No one's ever done it before. But we're going to figure it out. And we're going to figure it out through innovation, collaboration, and a commitment to one another. That's what we've been doing all along. I'm going to try things, and if they work, we're going to share them. If they don't work, we're going to stop, and we're going to try something new. But I think we're going to surprise ourselves by all the innovation that comes out this school year, and we'll look back on it and say, I didn't think we could do that, but we did. And so I want to thank you, all of you, who have that attitude and have been working so hard to make school possible for students this year. So to that point, as I've gone through these plans and I have been so impressed with what I've seen, I wanted to just take a minute to walk you through what school might look like this year. For the kids out there, maybe there's some students listening, parents listening, teachers listening. Here's what it might look like. When you wake up in the morning, we all need to get into a routine. The first thing we need to do is check our symptoms. Wake up in the morning, how do we feel? Do we have a sore throat, a headache, a cough, etc.? Most districts are encouraging students and parents and teachers to download the Crush COVID app. So we have about 85,000 Rhode Islanders who have downloaded the Crush COVID app. If you haven't done that yet, I'd ask you today to please do that. It's probably the easiest way that you can keep track of symptoms. It'll also give you a push message every day to prompt you to check on your symptoms. So if you're a teacher or a student getting ready to go back to school, take a minute today and download the Crush COVID RI app. Anyway, if you're symptom-free, if you feel fine, you can go ahead and head to school. Transportation is going to look different. There will be school buses running, but at a very reduced capacity. So that means bus stops will have clearly marked waiting spaces to ensure social distancing. Hand sanitizer will be available, and students will have assigned seats on the bus. So for the kids out there, you have to sit in your assigned seat, you have to wear your mask, the windows of the buses will be open, and the bus stop will look different. Some cities and towns are getting creative. If you live in Smithfield, they're setting up walk zones to make it easy and safe for those who live close to the school to safely walk to school. All students will also get a health screening before getting on a bus. So you should be expected to do that. Just get yourself to know that before you get on the bus every day, you're going to be subject to a health screening. In Central Falls, that'll be a temperature check. So in many places, they'll have thermometers, they'll check your temperature. Other schools have other ways to screen your health. Drop-off and pickup, if you drive to school, is going to look different this year. Please consult with your individual school for their new procedures around drop-off and pickup. In Charahoe, for example, buses have different drop-off locations to prevent overcrowding. Almost every school, let me be clear about this, in almost every single school, there will be different drop-off and pickup systems this year than last year. And I just want to say, I know for parents and everyone, this is going to be less convenient. And so I apologize in advance for that. It's the way it needs to be to prevent overcrowding. We have to make sure that we don't have a lot of people bunched up close to each other for a long period of time. So if you help the school out and take a minute to understand what the drop-off and pickup procedures will be. Some places like Cranston getting really creative. They're going to have grab-and-go breakfasts as you enter the school so you can eat in your classroom. Also, in every school, they're going to have health checks. Some places it'll be a temperature check with a thermometer. Other places it'll be a screening. But we're just going to have to get used to this. Wear your mask to school. It'd be great, parents, if you could send your kids to school with extra masks. We'll also have extra masks at school if they don't have them. Hand sanitizer in your backpack. Just try to get into these routines. Once you're in your classroom, you'll have an assigned seat and you'll need to wear a mask throughout the day. Classrooms will have open windows, fans, and other measures to promote air circulation. In Jamestown, for example, there's going to be signage on the furniture and decals on the floor to remind you about social distancing, mask wearing, and washing your hands. In many, many places, you'll be having classes or lunch outside. So if you're a student in Little Compton, for example, you have access to multiple designated outdoor learning spaces, including several large event tents. So if you go to school this year and you see a tent outside, That's this normal to get through this year. You're going to be having class outside under a tent. After a few classes, it'll be time for lunch. Most students this year are going to eat lunch in your classroom with your stable group. So again, this year is going to be very structured. You're going to have a group of 30 people. You want to stick with that group in your assigned seats with the seating chart, eating lunch in your classroom. In some districts, like in Scituate, students who order lunch at school will have it delivered to the classroom. In Foster, Gloucester, and Barrington, they're planning to eat lunch outdoors. Now, a question we're getting a lot from the kids: what about recess? Good news, there will be recess. Everyone needs a break, everyone needs a mask break, everyone needs some fresh air. So there's going to be recess, but even recess will be different. Like kids in Woonsocket, you're going to be required to wash your hands or use Purell before and right after recess. When you're outside in your stable group, each student may have their own play equipment, like a hula hoop or jump ropes or balls, which is also what in Bristol Warren, they have some really creative ideas around how to make sure that kids can have things to play with, but they will be all sanitized and will prevent infection from spreading. You also might have a schedule for when you can use certain parts of the schoolyard. At the end of the day, you'll pick up procedures will look very similar to drop-off procedures. There'll be staggered times, separate entrances. This is, so get ready for everything to be different. Get ready for there to be glitches. Get ready for this to be less convenient. After we do it for a while, just like everything else, we'll get good at it. It will get easier. But it has to be very structured, and everything we're doing is to prevent crowding. We can't have crowded drop-offs and pickups. Finally, I just want to give one more reminder. It continues to come up. Here's the plan. September 14th is the first day of school. Except for Providence and Central Falls, every city and town has been cleared for full in-person learning. Schools will ramp up gradually between September 14th and October 13th. Now we're hearing from some parents, why can't we all be in school all the time starting September 14th? And I would say the reason for that is because, schools need a chance to slowly and safely bring the kids back. Everything is different this year. So while I realize it's inconvenient for those first few weeks to have it be staggered between in-person and virtual, and it's far from ideal, it should give you some confidence that we're using the time to get it right. And I would just ask you, please, parents, to be patient, as I know you are, with the principals and teachers. They need to figure out over those first few weeks how to safely bring back all the kids, and so we support them in the effort to slowly ramp up between September 14th and October 13th. Today at 3 o'clock, I'll be holding my weekly Back to School Facebook Live forum with Commissioner Infante Green and Health and Human Services Secretary Wilma Zeta-Jones and the Providence Superintendent Harrison Peters. The focus today will be about equity in education, focusing on the importance of in-person learning for everyone, but particularly for our youngest students, our multi-language learners, students with differing learning abilities, and others who are too frequently left behind. So I hope you will find the time to tune in today, 3 o'clock, Facebook Live. Next Thursday, now I have a special announcement right now for students. Next Thursday at the weekly forum, I'll be joined by Dr. McDonald and Barbara Cottom, who's the chair of the Rhode Island Board of Education. We're going to be devoting the entire session next Thursday to answering questions submitted by students. So later today, I'll be posting a link on my social media accounts for the students to submit questions, and we're going to send out that link today in the daily email. If you haven't signed up for an email yet and you have a student who has a question, sign up for that email at governor.ri.gov. So students, I know you have a ton of questions. Now's your chance. Ask us your questions and tune in next Thursday at 3 o'clock. Finally, I want to take a second to share some good news about unemployment insurance, not related to schools, but very relevant. I'm very, very pleased to announce that starting today, we are going to be sending out the checks for the extended additional unemployment insurance. Between today and next Friday, everyone eligible for the additional up to $900 will be getting your checks. So I have to thank the hardworking folks at the Department of Labor and Training. We were aiming for next week. They beat the goal, as they often do. So if you're collecting unemployment insurance, first of all, I'm sorry, and we're going to work hard to get you your job back. But secondly, keep an eye out, because starting today through next week, you can look for the extra up to $900 in your check.